pair of fame-seeking YouTubers who see themselves as rebels striking back against the wealthy and recording themselves stealing items from the rich as a strike against the system, find themselves caught up in a supernaturally charged escalation of events when attempting to prank the makers of a high-end fashion commercial in this found footage film from Matthew Butler Hart. Knowing how cliched and repetitive the found footage genre has become, this film nods and references films such as Blair Witch, while smartly carving its own place within the genre. Shot with a low budget and with a loose script, the cast were all encouraged to improvise around the scenes and create their own character dynamics themselves, which allows the banter and chat within the film to feel awkwardly natural rather than feeling forcibly staged, grounding the found footage aspect a little more. Thea and Louise, played by Ellie Duckles and Riz Mortiz, are likeably detestable, packed with narcissistic influencer attitudes, but a witty banter that somehow managed to make me engaged with them. At the location they're stealing from, we've got Emma King, Matt Barber, Graham Butler, Hattie Chapman, and Tori Butler Hart as the film crew and actors making the commercial, and all playing characters named after themselves, which lends another air of credibility. Admittedly, the illusion of found footage reality was shattered somewhat by me seeing the film at a screening with Tori in attendance, but let's not dwell on that. The manner in which the film starts off, cutting back and forth from Thea and Louise as they are off to the next target, to the film crew, which offers an amusingly satirical view of the making of those typically pretentious fashion and fragrance ads that we all know of and have all mocked at some point. It makes the first act feel a little disjointed at times, but it does allow us to get to know all the players pretty swiftly. In addition, it helps us to understand why the cameras keep running. One of the biggest contrivances in found footage films is that there's always a point in the film that you think, put the camera down and run. However, in Dagr, we have narcissistic YouTubers who certainly would never put the camera down because, clicks. And a film crew who have set up kit around a mansion to record, as well as a camera operator who from the very first shot seems to be melded to a handheld rig throughout. As a result, I didn't once feel bothered by the camera still running, even as things started to escalate. As for the escalation itself, at the midpoints, the two group stories start to intertwine with each other, strange disturbances occur, and a blurry, static, buzzed-robed figure appears to be stalking the mansion, part of a centuries-old ritual that we are informed of briefly very early in the film. The low budget of the film offers restrictions on what could be done horror-wise, but Hart and his crew delivered well with clever cuts and angles, as well as twisted sounds rising up to deliver a strong third act of thrill ride-esque terror. All in all, Dagr is a solid example of low-budget filmmaking made by a director who has a clear passion for ideas and for bringing them to life. Whilst it doesn't break any conventions of the formula it adapts, it does provide a decent enough scare and a few chuckles for all the right reasons. Back in 2019, Newsnight presenter Emily Maitlis conducted an immediately infamous interview with Prince Andrew regarding his connections with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The interview was impossible to not be aware of at the time, as elements of it were propelled over social media in memes, clips, and posts. The story of how the interview came about and the people involved in it was swiftly optioned for dramatisation, with two takes on the story racing for the gates, one from Netflix and a mini-series from Amazon. Scoop from Netflix is the first one to reach the audience, and it waves a strong cast in the real-life roles it depicts, whilst admitting in a title card that some elements have been dramatised. Billy Piper plays Sam McAllister, a BBC reporter who's been piecing together elements of the Epstein case and investigating the links with important people in society, especially Prince Andrew. Feeling that the connections she suspects will be published elsewhere if word gets out about them, Sam wants to give the palace a chance to respond to them officially and impartially by the BBC before it risks becoming gutter press hysteria. She communicates with the Prince's private secretary, Amanda Thirsk, played by Keely Dawes, and surprisingly finds her quite open to the idea of the Prince himself being interviewed. Sam, along with presenter Emily Maitlis, Gillian Anderson, then has to research and work to plan out an interview that sticks to the BBC's impartiality aspect, but finds a way to poke through the official responses they expect to get. It's a story that we all know so well thanks to the internet age that we live in. But whilst it isn't telling us much new information, what Scoop does is get us under the skin of those involved. This is served well thanks to the marvellous cast throughout. Anderson as Mateless is great. Hawes is always a great presence on screen. But this film belongs primarily to two people, Billy Piper as Sam and Rufus Sewell as Prince Andrew. Piper is thoroughly engaging as Sam digs for details within a newsroom that is being hit with budget cuts and undue pressures. Sewell, under prosthetics, inhabits the prince with mannerisms and posture to almost perfection. The smart manner in which archive materials of old photos and video have been tweaked to reflect Sewell's features ground it all in a reality. The interview itself is played out in short form highlights and is as damning as the real life version was, but it does smartly avoid over sensationalizing the events or proffering a forcibly accusatory finger, instead, letting the events of the interview, as it did in real life, allow us to make our own minds up on what we feel the truth is. This is a recent piece of BBC history that is still firmly in our collective consciousness. But Scoop digs back into the run up more to turn it into a frenetic newsroom drama, which smartly makes it more about the people involved than the moment itself. Well cast and tightly paced, it's one to watch.